That's right.
With Trump's lawyers, including an initial batch of classified documents turned over in January and another meeting with Trump's team in June. But this month, the Justice Department had enough, receiving approval from a federal magistrate to have the FBI execute a search warrant on Trump's Mar-a-Lago home to retrieve the materials. Trump has repeatedly attacked the FBI for their search of his home. And tomorrow, the DOJ is expected to present the magistrate judge.
Now I agree with Rush. I'm too stupid to make up my own mind.
Again, like you said, misinformation. They said they didn't know. But counsel to the president said that he deferred to Ms. Wall and that she could then decide to just remove the privilege that every president prior has had. So that's the issue there. As to what happened in between June and August, well, we know what happened. This was an event that was prime right before election. It is prime because he's way ahead in the polls. And the Wall Street Journal's headline today stated it perfectly clearly. This was an improper search. It was not done correctly. There was no need for it, and he was cooperating. There is absolutely no reason. No reason. And now we have evidence of that they were cooperating.
Greg Jarrett, the night of the raid at Mar-a-Lago, you were on this very program, and you pointed out what the Wall Street Journal mentioned today, and that is that the Federal Records Act gives authority to a former president to have custody and control over presidential papers. I want you to talk about that and add to that the right of a president to declassify documents as he sees fit, which, by the way, is not something that, say, a Secretary of State like.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
The story right now is about democracy. And I like to clearly tell you what we're trying to do around here. So let me tell you up front right now, this is a little different than our typical start to this news program, The Beat. Right now, I'm going to try to walk through the broader path of how democracy is in danger, even beyond how that point itself has become a kind of rhetorical refrain in Washington, a refrain that is also true. So we're going to go through that right now, me and you together, and then turn to a special expert on this a little later. The midterm elections, they occur on one day in November. And we know that, of course, is Election Day. But these primaries for who can win on that day, who even will be in a position as a major party.
Eventually.
The National Archives has made public a letter rejecting Donald Trump's effort to claim executive privilege over more than 700 pages of classified documents. The letter, sent in May, was in response to the former president's request to shield the FBI from reviewing the material recovered from Mar-a-Lago back in January. The National Archives informed Trump's legal team the government would be able to review the documents to determine how they were handled and to assess any potential damage to national security. Government officials made 2 more visits to the resort after that letter was sent to recover even more documents. It's unclear how many pages of classified information were found during those trips. Meanwhile, a federal judge has ordered Trump to clarify his request for a special master to review the documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. Judge Aileen Cannon, appointed by Trump, asked his team to explain why they chose her court to state more precisely what they're asking and to resubmit their motions in the correct format. Politico writes, Cannon did not explicitly criticize the 27-page motion Trump's lawyers filed on Monday, but her request for clarification seemed to dovetail with criticism from some legal observers who called the submission convoluted, confusing, and loaded with heaping servings of political rhetoric unrelated to the legal questions at issue. Trump's team now has until Friday to clarify that filing. Let's bring in former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid and political investigations reporter for The Washington Post, Josh Dawsey. Good morning to you both. Barbara, let me ask you about this letter from the judge back to the Trump legal team. What should we read into that beyond her saying, your work isn't finished here, explain why you want me to look at this and perhaps find a special master?
This is how legends are born.